cloud, and in open source. So watch us on demand and share your own perspective as we live stream in communities all around the world.
Hey folks, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all who all are joining us globally. I am Parth Varu, Program Manager for Microsoft Reactor India, and I welcome you all to MVP Connect. So, before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together. So, please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind, and considerate in a way you all engage. Yes, obviously, we do encourage you all to participate. So please drop all your questions in the chat section. So now, for today's session, I would like to bring in Shailendra. Hi, Shailendra.
Hi, how are you?
I am good, Shailendra. How are you?
Yeah, I'm also good.
So, what do we have today?
So today we are going to start with how we can build the ASP.NET Core 7 application with Microsoft Azure.
Okay, it's an exciting session. We have so many comments. Hello, we have people joining from Norway as well.
Oh, great.
Hey, hi. Yeah. So over to you, Shailendra. The floor is all yours. Let's begin the session.
Yeah, thank you, Pat, for giving this opportunity.
Yep.
So today we are going to start with how we can build the ASP.NET Core 7 application with Microsoft Azure. So you can see in the picture, I just take the screenshot. Let's see how we can build a e-Pizza Hub application. Like we having the Domino's, we having the Pizza Hut, or many other online food delivery application. If you're planning to build in the combination of ASP.NET 7 and Microsoft Azure. So I will try to represent here what are the Azure services you can connect together with the ASP.NET 7 so that we can build the things over here. So guys, quickly please do mention about your the experience and what are the technology you know. How many people are already working with .NET 7? Do we have someone in the chat who is working with the .NET 7? Do share the things. So I'm constantly looking at the chat. I will answer the things. And meanwhile, what are the queries you having? Whatever things I'm presenting here, you can ask me. So let's start
So
with the
yes, yes. So before we start from there, start sending the comments in the chat section. Shailendra, would you like to give our audience to know a little bit about you, a little bit more about you?
yeah, I will share my introduction here. So let me introduce to myself. So my name is Shailendra Chauhan. I'm the founder and CEO of ScholarHat and DotNetTricks. I'm a technical consultant, corporate trainer. I'm Microsoft MVP from last 7 years. I'm Microsoft certified Azure professional in Azure Developer Associate and DevOps engineer. I'm the author of 15 interview question answer ebooks. I have written more than 450 plus articles on .NET and other related technologies. I have trained more than 25,000 developers across the world live on various technologies. So this is about me in brief. So let's jump to the agenda of this today's session. So in today's session, we will discuss about how you can decide the various Microsoft Azure services whenever you are going to integrate your ASP.NET Core application with Microsoft Azure. Even I will tell you here as a developer what are the top 10 Microsoft Azure services every developer must know. Then I will share my application architecture with you. What are the application I built in the combination of ASP.NET 7 and Microsoft Azure. Then we will dive into the code as well so that you having the understanding how to write the code to integrate the various Microsoft Azure services. Finally, we talk about the architecture as well and a demo I will show you over there so that you having the clear cut understanding about to building the things over here. So let's get started with choosing the Microsoft Azure services. So we having the various Microsoft Azure services. So Azure offering us a vast range of services. So there is always a confusion which service we should use in which scenario, and what are the options are available to do that one. So here I'm sharing a list of services which you can use in a specific case. So let's say whenever you are going to decide how to host your application in Azure, so it can be your web API, it can be your web application. So what are the various hosting options are available? Let me share with you first. So we having here infrastructure as a service. So under the ER services, we having the many option to host your web application, your API in cloud. So we having the virtual machine, we having the container instances, we having the batch for running the various batch processing purpose. We having the AKS as well. Even we having the web app for containers. So these options are available as a infrastructure service to host your application in Azure. Then we having the PaaS services as well. If you're willing to go ahead with the platform as a services, so we having their web app, we having their function app, we having their mobile app and the logic app. So what are the application you're building? It can be your API, it can be your web, it can be some the function as well. So depending upon your requirement, you can decide one of the PaaS service over here. So these are the hosting option we having. The another one we having the data storage option. So when it is coming to storing the data in the cloud, so we having the structured data option. So as a RDBMS, we having the option for Azure SQL database. We having the option for Azure database for MySQL. We having here Azure database for the PostgreSQL. Even you can use here MariaDB as well. So whatever the RDBMS you are willing to use in your .NET based application, in any other application as well, it can be the application with Java, it can be the application with any other technology. It's not the case only the .NET based application you can build with these databases, you can build the other application as well. But of course today context is here, we are discussing about how we can build the ASP.NET based application with Azure. We having the option to store the unstructured data as well. So when it is coming to the NoSQL database, so Azure Cosmos DB is the option of over there. You can go ahead, and if you're willing to store the files, if you're willing to store the unstructured data, it can be images, it can be audio, it can be video. We can go ahead with the Azure storage. So this is about the NoSQL storage option here. The next one we having the analytics option. So when it is coming to the how we can create the analytics, what are the data we having, whatever the application we are running. So for that option we having the Azure Synapse Analytics, and we having the Azure Data Lake Store. So these are the two services you can go ahead for the analytics option here. Then we having the services for the messaging. If you're willing to work on a system where the component of the system are loosely coupled and they are going to communicate to each other with the help of messages, so we having the service bus option. You can go ahead with service bus to communicate between the component of the application. So mainly whenever it is coming the transactional based communication, we go ahead with the service bus. We having the event grid as well, and we having the event hub. So event grid you can use for reacting for the event. Let's say take the example, you are uploading some picture or let's say some files to the below storage, and upon file creation, upon the file deletion, you want to do something. So there you can go ahead with the event grid. And then we having the event hubs here. If you're willing to collect the some data about the weather information, let's say any other data where you have to create a lot of data and you have to store and further analyze it, we can go ahead with the event hub there. And what are the security options are available? So in Azure we having the Azure Active Directory, and we having the Key Vault. So Azure AD mainly as a developer, you can go ahead to implement the single sign-on functionality. And when it is coming to storing the secret, when it is coming to storing the certificates, so we can go ahead with the Key Vault for storing them. So these options are available to implement the security in Microsoft Azure. Then we having the monitoring option. So when it is coming to how to monitor the application, so for the monitoring purpose, we having the two option. We can monitor the things at the application level. So to monitor the things at the application level, we having the Azure application inside. So whenever you're looking into the code, or let's say which request is taking how much time and how many requests actually you're making to load a particular page, so that can be tracked using the Azure application inside. Similar way, we having the Azure log analytics. If I'm willing to log the things, then we having the further monitoring option at the subscription level. So whatever the subscription you are using for hosting the Microsoft Azure or for managing your Microsoft Azure services, so we having over there Azure Monitor. Azure Monitor will let us know what is happening with our Azure resources. We can use the Azure Network Watcher as well. What are the network access you having? You're willing to look into that one. So these are the monitoring services can be you can use to figure out what are the various Microsoft Azure resources you're running in the cloud. You can find out those things over there. Now the next thing is here, that is the what are the top 10 Microsoft Azure services every developer must know. So I have list down the 10 important services mainly developer use. I'm not saying only these 10 are the widely used here. We having the others also, but without these 10 Microsoft Azure services, nobody can expect the web development. So when it is coming to hosting the application with infrastructure as a service, so first option we having the virtual machine. So virtual machine provides us a flexible option where we can decide what runtime you want to install, what even database you want to run over there. So it's a complete flexible option to run your application in cloud. Even the virtual machine you can use as a host, even you can use as a client machine as well. So say for the development purpose also, the virtual machine available in Azure can be used. The next important service we have been the Azure storage. So when it is coming to storing the no structured database, so we having the various files, we having the images, we having the PDF, we having the various documents. So in the Azure storage, we having the option for blob, we having the option for files. So with the help of these various services, we can manage our documents of an application. The next important service we having the Azure SQL database. So when it is coming to managing the RDBMS, or you can say you already running a .NET based application in your on-prem environment using the SQL Server. Now the SQL Server you are willing to move to the cloud, or the data you're willing to move to the cloud. So there we having the Azure SQL database to do this one. The next one we having here web app. So when it is coming to not using the infrastructure service, because web app it can be used as an alternative to the virtual machine. So let's say you are not using the, you're not willing to use the virtual machine, you're willing to use the PaaS services. So there we can go ahead with the web app. So web app can be used for hosting the API. It can be used for hosting the web application. So this is a good option when it is coming to hosting your application in Azure. The next one we have being the function app. So function as can be used at many places. It can be used to host a simple function. That function can be used for sending an email. That function can be used for uploading a, let's say, picture, whatever you are taking from your mobile app as a selfie. So for various purposes, function app can be used. Even you can use the function app to create a simple microservice as well. So at many places, the function app can be used. So this is also the very important service as a developer you must know. The next important service we have being the Cosmos DB. So when it is coming to managing our application data in the cloud, especially when it is coming to dealing with the real-time data. Just take the example you are building an application similar to let's say Ola and Uber, where you have to track the real-time location of the driver. So that real-time data we have to fetch quickly. It should not take much time. So Cosmos DB is an option which is helping us to fetch the data quickly because it is going to ensure a very less time to perform the read operation and the write operation around 10 millisecond it take to perform the read operation, and the 15 millisecond it take to perform the write operation. So Azure Cosmos DB definitely will help you to deal with the real-time database in your application. Next one we have in here Azure Service Bus. So when it is coming to the your application component, which are going to be work in the disconnected mode, is not the case. Both the services of your system are live at the same time. They can be live in the different time. So their service bus will help you. So service bus, the sender will send the message, and on the other hand, the receiver will receive the messages over there. A simple scenario can be here: you want to place the order, and behind the scene you having the a service for the shipping. So as soon as the order will be placed, so immediately shipping is not going to be done for your product. It will take some time. So whenever whenever the shipping service will available, that time the shipping of your order will start. So their service bus is example which can be used over there. The next one we having here the Azure Active Directory. So as I said here, when it is coming to implementing the authentication, authorization in your application, it can be the authentication at the service level, it can be the authentication at the device level. For many purpose, the Active Directory can be used. Even in your application, you can use the Azure AD to implement the single sign-on functionality. So take the example as a product owner, as a the company, you having the multiple website for your organization. So those website access you're willing to provide from a common interface. Let's say you are going to create a single sign-on functionality. It does not mean uh, whether you are accessing my product A, product B, product C, you will have one credential. So they are Azure AD can help us in that case. Then we having here Azure Key Vault. So when it is coming to storing the secret your information about, let's say it can be database connection string, it can be your password, it can be the many other important information which you don't want to keep inside the app setting file, inside the web.config file. I want to store them on a secret place, on a safe place. So their key vault definitely will help you. So Key Vault is a safe place where you can keep your application secret. Even you can store over there your SSL certificate as well, even your hardware keys as well. So Key Vault is the right place over there. The next one we have being the Azure Application Insight. So when it is coming to monitoring the application at the code level, so their application insight definitely will help you because it let us know how much time our page is taking to render into the browser, even how many requests we are making to the server, and each request is taking how much time. So at each request label you want to monitor the things, you want to look into the application so that you can take the decision which requests I need to optimize so that the performance of the application can be improved. So these are the I feel are the 10 most important services as a developer you must know. If you have any query, any doubt about these 10 important Microservices services, you can ask over here. Vikram, when it is coming to the durable function, so durable function we use to implement a workflow. If you're willing to implement a workflow, that can be used over there. So let's see how we can build our ASP.NET 7 application. So I usually say the name is here ePizza Hub. So let's see how we can build the ePizza Hub application. So what I'm representing here, I'm representing a simple and the clean architecture. It's a simplified version of the clean architecture. I have not make it many things over there so that I can keep the thing simple and easy to understand. So at the center we having the entities where we are doing the mapping with the database tables, whatever we having there. Then on the top of entities, we added the repository where we write the data access logic. Then we having the services where we write the business logic. then we having the UI layer where we write the presentation logic. So these are the many layers we having in our project. And even whenever you are going to manage your application, I'm sure similar architecture you do for managing the things. So if you're willing to look at a simpler and a cleaner way to manage your application layer, you can follow this architecture to make the things there. So now let me show you the code. What are the code we having based upon the same architecture? So I'm having my Widget Studio with you. So I'm using the Widget Studio 2022 here. And this is the project I just set up with the same ePizza Hub Azure here. And what are the layers I just shown in this one? Exactly same layer we having over there. Only one layer you will find out here extra, that is for the task, that is my function app there. So when it is coming to the ePizza Hub core, so what is happening here? These are the entities I'm having. So we having the entity for user role, we having for order, item, category, and we having for others also. And here we are using the entity framework core. So in entity framework core, this is the AppDB context I'm using here. So this is the AppDB context where all the entities we are importing here. So entity framework core we are using here for creating this one here. Then here we are implementing the repository design pattern where we added a generic repository. So this is my generic repository where we have written all the commonly used method which can be used to perform the database operation on any entity. Then based upon this generic repository, we have defined the specific one as well. So for the specific repository, we having the iUser one. Because in case a specific repository, whatever the specific operation you are willing to perform, we can do over there. So for this one, I'm having a one more document that I will share with you how the things are working. So when it is coming to the design pattern which I'm talking about here, repository one. So repository design pattern actually coming like this way. Just look at this picture. So we having the generic repository pattern where we added all the commonly used operation. Then we having the specific one. In the specific one, whatever the things are specific to this product repository only, I'm keeping here. So the thing is, we can use add, remove, update, get by ID, these common operation in generic repository here. And this generic repository code we don't need to write again and again for each and every entity separately. So what I have done, I'm inheriting them into this specific one over there. So this is my product repository. Similar way we can have for authentication purpose, we having the authentication repository. We can have over there the category one. So based upon this diagram, I have done the same thing. I'm having this user repository where I'm inheriting it from the generic one, where I'm implementing my generic, my specific iUser repository interface this way. Here we having the method create user, validate user, because the objective of this user repository is to validate the user detail, to sign up the user. So that code is written in this user repository here. So based upon the generic and the specific repository, this is the layer we have created. Now this layer we are accessing in this services. So now in the services, we are writing our business logic. So here, when it is coming to the authentication, we having this IOT service. Exactly, we having the validate user, we having the create user, and here from the models, these are the models are available. I'm having the model for email, I'm having for password, and here I'm going to create the user here like this one. This is the one I'm doing simply. Then we having here the cart service where we have written the logic how to do the calculation at the cart label. So at the cart label, the calculation we are using like this way here simply. This is a cart label calculation we are doing. Angel and Nia, when it is coming to the which .NET 7 specific features go to use in your project. So with the .NET 7, we don't have any specific features to the ASP.NET 7. We having the performance improvement. So when it is coming to pick up the .NET 7, you will find out its performance is better than the older one. Otherwise, whatever the code I'm using here, it can be run on .NET 6 as well. There is no such difference. I'm not using any specific .NET 7 features over there because it's all about the performance improvement in .NET 7. When you are comparing it ASP.NET Core MVC. In Blazor, we having the many features in .NET 7, but Blazor we are not using here. Okay. So this is about the services. Then these services we are accessing in this UI. So the UI layer, in the UI layer, what I have done, I'm creating here this app setting.json file. So when it is coming to making the project, so we do the here error logging as well. So here I'm using the Srilog library. This is my Srilog library. Using that, we are doing the error logging. So for the error logging, we are just going to log the error as a JSON file. So we having this www root folder where this is my logs. Here it will store my log here. Then we are going to store the thing into the SQL server. This is the SQL server here. And these are the other settings we having the settings for the keyword setup here. We having the setting for the database connection string. We having the setting for the storage account. We having the setting for the payment gateway, and we having the setting for the application insight. So these are the things we having here. Tamil Jahan Raja Gopal. The difference between repository and service is here. In repository, I'm writing the data access logic, but in the service, I'm writing the business logic. Okay, so when it is coming to these two here, so when it is coming to writing the data access logic, we are writing inside the repository, and when it is coming to writing the business logic, we are writing over here. Then here we having a one layer that is a common layer modus. So whatever the object, what are the DTO we are going to use in our application, we are keeping over here. So we having a model for the user where I'm keeping the user ID, name, email, and phone number. And here I'm having the cart model where we are creating the shopping cart. So this is the model we are keeping over here. Then we having a one more layer that is a task. So when it is coming to sending the email, when the payment will be received, so this is the, so that code is written in the task here. So in the task we having a two function, one function here for the payment confirmation email. So as soon as we will receive the payment, this will send the email behind the scene. And how it is sending the email? It is sending the email by looking into the SMS, by looking to the messages available in the service bus. So here service bus is configured. So this is my service bus trigger is configured over here, and here it will look for the service bus connection string here. So this is the connection string we having for the Azure service bus we have mentioned, and this is a SMTP detail. So I have not mentioned my actual SMTP detail, but when you will set up the same application on your local machine, you have to mention your own email, your own password, and the SMTP detail so that you able to send the email upon user sign up and upon payment confirmation. So this is the project I just explain you in the brief so that you having the understanding about it. So what are the project I have explained? I'm sure the similar project you might build using the ASP.NET MVC5, or you might build using the ASP.NET Core 5, 6, and 7. Same project you have to do over there. But now the question is here, we have built our ASP.NET 5, ASP.NET 6, or ASP.NET 7 project. Now we are willing to decide the Azure services so that we can integrate them into our project and what are the things we are managing locally, we can manage in the cloud. So for that purpose, I'm having the diagram for the architecture, so that you having the clear understanding how the architecture diagram we can go ahead. So far we just discuss about the ASP.NET Core architecture, and we just look into the code. Now it is time to integrate our Microsoft Azure services here, so that we can go ahead the things over there simply. So here when it is coming to managing the data, so the option is here Azure SQL database. So whatever the database you are running in your local environment, or like in your dev environment, we can move to the Azure SQL. Then we have been about managing our application images, our application document. It can be the invoice PDF, it can be our certificates, let's say any other. So those things we can upload to the blob storage. So this is about the data management, SQL database and the NoSQL data. We are managing using these two options. Then of course, whatever the data we have in common across the application. If you're looking at to the our ePizza Hub application, we having the product which we have to display, and these are the common product for all user. So instead of fetching these product detail again and again from the our Azure SQL database, we will fetch them from the Redis cache. So I'm going to cache their content into the Redis cache. And for hosting the application, I having the two architecture. One architecture where I'm using the web app, means mainly it is focused around the PaaS services. So I will host my application as a web app, and this web app directly make a communication to Azure SQL database to fetch the our data from the RDBMS. Even it will require the data from the blob storage as well. If you having, let's say, the PDF, if you having, let's say, the other images, or you might be using some other audio video as well, so we can host as a blob storage over there. Then along with the web app, when it is coming to monitoring my web application, when it is coming to look into the my application code, we have configured here application insight. So using the application insight, I will look into the code, or at the code level monitoring I will do. When it is coming to monitoring at the subscription level, so whatever the Azure resources we are running, we have to monitor them. So we having the Azure monitor for that purpose. Then when it is coming to storing our secret, as I said, we having the SMTP password, we having the service bus connection string, we having the Azure Redis cache, and we having the many other the connection string, the secret. So where we will store them. So we will store them in the key vault, because I don't want to expose them, or I don't want to put them in a configuration file, because configuration file can be read by somebody else. So that's why I'm keeping in a safe place, that is key vault. Then next one we having the Azure AD. So of course to interact with the key vault, we need the Azure AD label application registration. So that application registration I have done at the Azure keyword level, at the Azure AD label, so that we can communicate with it. Then when it is coming to the the sign up process, when it is coming the payment confirmation process, so there we need to send some email upon order confirmation, upon a user registration confirmation. So that message I'm sending to the queue, the detail, let's say that notification I'm sending to the queue, and from the queue we having a function app. That function app will read that message and will send the email behind the scene for the user sign up, for the payment confirmation. So here I don't need to wait for sending the email, because usually what happens here, when we send the email, normally we create a separate function. In the separate function we call the template, and we wait until the email is not sent, or you might creating the window service for doing such activity. But in Azure we having the function app for doing the things over here. So with therefore function app we can do. Azure AD means here Active Directory. Krishna. Irrigation, yeah, when it is coming to validating the domain models, so you can validate domain models over there. But what are the validation I'm doing here? I'm doing the validation here at UI label. So what are the things I'm going to validate at the UI label? I'm keeping in the UI library, but with the help of the C sharp also, the validation can be done. So we having the fluent validation for that purpose. So with the help of fluent validation, it can be done. So this is the architecture we having finally with Microsoft Azure and the .NET combination here. So this is the architecture one where, of course, what are the things I'm hosting to my web app, I will access through this browser, because the website you can access, of course, through the browser. So this is the way you can access it here. So this is the one style you can host your application with Microsoft Azure or various Azure services. So I try to club here the many services so that you will actually have the clear understanding. You will have a thought process how to use or how to utilize a particular service for doing the things. Similar architecture we can have with the virtual machine as well. So exactly same thing I'm having. What I did here, in place of web app, I have replaced the virtual machine and I have added the Cosmos DB also. So the what is the Cosmos DB use? We can do in the ePizza Hub application. So Cosmos DB in the ePizza Hub application can be used to store our shopping cart detail. So think about you having a basket. So basket means shopping cart you having. So whatever the items user is willing to purchase, I can keep inside the Cosmos DB, and from there we can pick up. Other things are as it is as we did in the previous architecture. Only the difference in the previous architecture and this architecture you will find out I have replaced the web app from the virtual machine and I added one extra database service, that is Cosmos DB. Cosmos DB uses can be in case of storing our real-time data. It can be uh, your shopping cart detail. It can be the any other detail which can be utilized. So I'm telling you as per my current project architecture. So they are where it can be used. So if you have any query regarding these two architecture, please do let me know. I'm here to answer, because this architecture is very very important whenever you are dealing with integrating the things with various Microsoft Azure services. And finally, let me show the demo. What are the demo I'm having, so that you will see how actually it is looking. So this is the website I'm having. Even it is an open website right now. If you're willing to use, you can access it by following the given URL. It is epizzahub.azurewebsites.net. So I have hosted this website on Azure, and it is similar to the website we having for the online food delivery, like we having the Domino's, we having the Pizza Hut. So this is the items list is coming here like this way, and I just added a add to cart option. So here I can click to add them into the shopping cart. Click over there, and every time when you will add, you will have the notification in the right hand side of the bottom screen. See, the notification is coming. Then click on the cart. So this is the cart is coming over here. So right now this cart data I'm storing into my Azure SQL database, and when it is coming to accessing this home page data, so this item list is actually from the Redis cache. As I have shown here, I'm just following this architecture. As per this architecture, what are the common things we having? I just keep in this Redis cache. So this home page item listing is coming from the Redis cache. Other data is coming from the database. And what are the images we having here? These images are coming from this blob storage. So inside the blob, we having the blob service. So from the blob service, the images are coming. From the Azure SQL database, the data is coming. Now from the Redis cache, the cache data is coming. So this is about the home page and other things here. Then go to the shopping cart. This is my shopping cart. Now let me do checkout here. It will redirect me to the login page where I'm using the return URL option. So in the return URL, after the login, it will go back to the same page cart. So I'm going to log in to the same page cart here. Click on the login here. So I'm coming to the shopping cart page again. This time I will check out here. They do mention your delivery address. Let's say it is my Noida sector. Okay. Street 6, locality, let's say Noida sector 2. We can mention the pin code here. This is not my address. Okay. I'm just entering a dummy address over there. Then click on the continue. So it is coming to my payment page now. So now this payment pop-up is coming. So what I have done here, I have integrated a Razorpay payment gateway. So Razorpay is a payment gateway I have just integrated here. So from the razorpay.com. So what you can do here, you can do sign up over there and you will get the detail. And apart from the Razorpay, you can install, you can integrate here PayPal, you can integrate here the any other payment gateway. It's up to you. So Razorpay test credit card I'm using here for doing the payment. So they having the test card for making the payment. So this is my MasterCard. I can copy. Then I will mention in my card detail. So mentioning my card number, expiry date should be greater than today. Any CVV number, because it's a fake day, fake things. Even it is in test mode right now. It is not a live account with the Razorpay. It's a test account with the Razorpay. Then pay without saving card. So payment is going to be done. So now here, what you want to test? You want to test here the failure response, or you want to test here the success response. So it can be tested from here, success response this way. So payment has been done. After some time, it will redirect me to the my receipt page. This is the receipt page came. Perfect. Now I will go to the order detail. So order detail page I have not created here at the user level. So this is the way you have seen how the things has been done. And now let me show you the admin side. If you will try to log in as an admin, how you can access. So admin login I'm doing here. So the admin side, you can see what are the items we having in the database. So these are the items we having here. You can edit them like this way. Even you can see the dashboard here. So these things I'm just showing you here how it can be done simply. Now let me log out. So this is a website go through I have just shown to you here so that you having the clear understanding. I think Ashutosh, you are asking about the cost wise which is better. So when it is coming to deciding between the PaaS services and the ER services, so of course, if you're looking for the affordable hosting options of virtual machine having uh, the cost optimization, the PaaS services of course are costly than the ER's one. So just look at whether you are looking for that option or not. So you can go ahead with the second architecture in that case if you're doing that one. Make sense? Now let me show you how these services are into my account. So let me quickly log in into my account here. And here in this account, I'm having a resource group. This is my resource group. And this inside this resource group, let me explain all the things which I'm showing you I have already created. So when it is coming to the web app, I'm having this ePizza Hub web where I have hosted my application code. Even if you look at in my Visual Studio, so this is set up over there. So when you will publish here, it is going to map to the same URL ePizza Hub web deployment. This is a site where I'm hosting. So this is the place where we are hosting. And here at the configuration label, I have just set up my setting for application inside and for key vault. So we having Azure client ID, Azure client secret and tenant ID. We just set up over there. Then in the resource group level, we having this database, this one, ePizza Hub DB. So this is my database. So this is my database usage. It is showing to us. Then we having here Redis cache. So this is my Redis cache, ePizza Hub Redis cache, where we are going to cache the content. So you can see here, what are the requests we made. You can see these are coming here. Then we having your application inside. This is my ePizza Hub application inside. You can look into the application code label, what is happening with you. So here we having the option to look at the application inside here. So I think it is now showing my data. Then we having here this function app. As I said, we are using the function app for sending the email. So there is a function app, and what are the function I just published from my local machine. So these are coming. You can see payment confirmation email. We having the user sign up email. So these function we are using for sending the email here. Then we having here, this is my service. This is my storage account where we are storing the images. So when it is coming to storing the images, you can find out here. So we having the images folder and all the images are coming from here this way. This is my key vault where I added my secret. So these are secret I have added. Service bus connection, storage connection, exactly same settings I added here. So what I have done, I'm having a helper. So inside this service, we having the key vault service. So this key vault service returning me the secret value based upon the secret name. So do pass the secret name and it will return the secret value. Here I'm setting the secret name and secret value to setting it there. It says service I have created for the key vault service to create the secret, to retrieve the secret, and to delete it like this way. Then we having a queue service for sending the message to the service bus queue. Then we having a service for uploading the file. And here I'm just reading the things from the key vault label here. Even I have done the setting. If it is in dev environment, it will pick up from the app setting.json. If it is a production environment, it will pick up from the key vault here. This is the way. So this is the things we having for the key vault here. This one. Then we having here this database already explained. Even I will show you here at the Azure Active Directory level. This is my Azure AD. At the Azure AD level, we just mention the application registration. So here we have registered the application here. So this is my application ePizza Hub Azure app. And with the help of this application, through the key vault, we are connected and we are reading the values there. Here. Even here also we mention the secret here. We mention the secret for accessing them like this way. So this is the things we having here for this Azure AD and the keyword I explain. So I'm not using here the architecture 2 for hosting the application. I'm using this architecture 1 for hosting my application here simply. So this is a code explanation and I have explained the things over here so that you having the clear cut understanding how to build your ASP.NET 6 or 7 application with this Microsoft Azure services. So I have done from my side. If you have any query, any doubt about the architecture, about the code, please do ask. I'm here to answer. So please do ask your queries, whatever you having about the ASP.NET Core, about the Microsoft Azure integration, so that you will able to build the things I have done from my side for this session. So how many people are here planning to build their next .NET application with Microsoft Azure? Are you planning?
Shailendra, I would like to share the Learn module where they can take the learning further.
And one more thing here, if you're looking for learning the ASP.NET 7, so we are sharing a link with you in the chat. You can refer for the Microsoft official website from where you can learn about the ASP.NET 7. You can learn about the .NET 7. Even we having over there many documents as well on Blazor, on Web API. So everything is available over there. Okay, Nitesh is planning to build the things and Krishna also planning the things.
That's
So do you
nice.
think this architecture will help you to implement the things in your project now? When it is coming to the GitHub link for the code, I'm having that one I can share with you. So I shared the GitHub link. From here, you can download the same source code which I have represented here. Any other query do you have?
Guys, final call to ask the questions.
For storing the Azure credential, we are using the key vault. I'm using the key vault. For storing the database connection string, for storing the other strings at the key vault level, you can store them. Any other query do you have?
Any more questions? Please drop all your questions in the chat. We are still here. I think we don't have any more questions coming in, Shailendra. Let's call for a wrap then.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, every time at the last moment there is one question. Yeah.
So when it is coming to different types of function, we having their option available here. If you're coming to the function, so there are many templates are available. Here in case of when it is coming to the function app, there depending upon your requirement can be a function which you might are willing to trigger based upon a time interval, or we having the requirement on a message you're receiving to the service bus you want to trigger over there. So it's not about the type, it's about how you are using them here. Here, whenever you're willing to create, so from here you can create them here. So the templates are available here in case of an editor, and here you can decide the things. When it is coming to the logging, so for logging, I'm just storing them. Okay, you're talking about the login, not the logging. Actually, you're writing the logging, so I confuse with that. So it is simple here. As a user, you can log in as a user at the rate gmail.com, and password is this one. It's a simple one. So whatever the database we having, you can go ahead. Even I just keep a schema as well in this del layer. So here we having the SQL script. When it is coming to the seed data, so these detail are mentioned over there. It is an encrypted format, not in the plain one. So this is my user at the rate gmail.com, admin at the rate gmail.com. And finally, this is the password for user and for admin. This is the password we having for admin. You can try this one. Okay, thank you.
I hope that answers the question. Okay. Any more questions coming in, guys? So here is the link to get started with ASP.NET.
Sumit, when it is coming to Azure and Azure DevOps, so both are actually different things. Azure is a complete platform, and under the Azure we having the Azure DevOps also. So Azure DevOps is helping you to create the CI/CD pipeline for your build, for your release that can be done. And Azure DevOps having a different portal to log in. So there we having dev.azure.com, and for accessing the Azure services we having the portal.azure.com. So we having the two different portal for managing and accessing them. I'm sure in the GitHub link there is a database script as well. If you will set up, you will find out there.
Any more questions?
So it is having the data script. You can see seed data is available there.
Any more questions? Okay. So do I call for a wrap or any more questions coming in? I think Shailendra, we call for a wrap now. What say?
Yeah. Of course.
Thank you, Shailendra. It was a wonderful session. I've been seeing the audience flowing through, and the questions and the interaction. Really, thank you so much for doing this. And
Yeah,
audience,
thank you.
thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.